Well, 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 what have we here? Oogie Boogie, huh? Ooh, I'm full of fear. You know him. You most likely grew up with stories and ominous promises of them nabbing you in the dead of night if you misbehaved during the day. Into the sack you go, mwahaha! I say you probably did because turns out most everywhere in the world has a boogeyman or sackman or similar entity of its own. And maybe that's why The Nightmare Before Christmas's Oogie Boogie strikes such a terrifying collective chord. Oogie Boogie is so frightening because he is a blank canvas. Get it? Because presumably he's a burlap sack? Sorry. For each person to project their own fears onto. He is unpredictable and chaotic and an exact anti-Claus. Also, his makeup is extremely confusing. So, join me as I confront some early cinematic trauma and attempt to unravel one of the most interesting and unsettling characters in The Nightmare Before Christmas. The Oogie Boogie Man. Wow.
He is the shadow of the moon that night, filling your dreams to the brim with bright.
And he was not in the original Nightmare Before Christmas book and poem in this final form, but we'll get to that in a bit. You're either indifferent to him, love him, or he just really bugs you for some reason. Most everywhere under the sun, or under the shadow of the moon at night, has experiences and stories relating to a boogeyman or sackman of sorts. Just do a basic Google search and wham, isn't that Wikipedia page something? Wow, most every continent, culture, and country has a version of the kidnapping boogeyman, and of course, what those entities actually do varies from culture to culture. Some hide in the shadows or under the beds of children ready to steal them in the dead of night. Others eat their victims after carrying them away in a sack or drowning them in a wash tub? Interesting. Still another licks the feet of its victims so they cannot flee. Some are legless ghosts, others are ape-like apparitions, and some are even large bugs. Basically everything Lock, Shock, and Barrel sing about doing to Santa Claus. The list goes on and is sure to send a shiver or a few down your spine. The Sackman is of particular interest here. This is a man with a sack on his back who carries naughty children away. And Nightmare Before Christmas kinda turns the Sackman on its head. The Nightmare Before Christmas's Oogie Boogie is quite complex, but he was not in Tim Burton's original book/poem beyond a background-filled character shape. He was introduced as a villain for the film to allow bony old Jack a redemption arc of sorts. You know, some character growth. Book Jack is a malaise, kind of selfish guy who fails at taking over a holiday and is still rewarded with powder everywhere, snow. Jack does not have to risk anything to save the Jolly Santa Claus and or confront Oogie Boogie. By the way, if you're interested in the book versus movie analysis animation, check it out here. I had a lot of fun doing it, and it's quite a doozy. But all that being said, now that Oogie Boogie is here as an antagonist in the movie, I can't help but see how much he is extremely like an anti-Claus. Which is probably the point. Oogie and Santa are like two sides to the same coin, and that really comes through in their duet in Oogie's, fun room? One begs to be set free in order to make kids happy. The other just wants to have some selfish fun. One rewards nice little children for good behavior with a toy from their endless sack, and the other would traditionally punish naughty kids by tossing them into their bottomless sack. Where Santa Claus is busy going through the list of nice children to reward with presents out of his infinite sack of joy, Oogie employs the naughtiest of kids to kidnap the Santa Claus, which I know Jack assigns them, but these finger-crossing fiends think only of chaos and Oogie Boogie, really. Lock, Shock, and Barrel, the henchmen or Oogie's boys, are the very naughty kids traditional boogeymen kidnap in sacks and such. When we first meet Lock, Shock, and Barrel, they are pelting the poor mayor with slingshot projectiles for heck's sake. But yeah, Oogie Boogie is not only an anti-Claus for seeking out the naughty children, but he's also a kind of anti-boogeyman too. Hear me out. Rather than eating them, punishing them, or doing whatever traditional boogeymen do, Oogie Boogie employs the misbehaving rascals to bring him sustenance in order to increase his powers. He's not a threat to naughty children, but their patron, I guess? And that may be because he's trapped down there, so they may have developed a symbiotic relationship or something. Anyway, Oogie doesn't get much screen time in the film until about 48 minutes into the 118-minute animation. This leaves a lot to the overactive imagination. So when we finally do see him, he makes that much more of an impact. Something that has always bugged me about Oogie Boogie. He is made of bugs, snakes, spiders, scorpions, you name it. Yet his snake and spider stew is infamous and a prospective reward for his henchmen. Does he put his own body bugs into the mix, or does he add new ones, like the special deliveries down the chute, and cook those before ingesting them via the stew? Is he made up only of the bugs he eats after cooking them, or after the henchmen dip them in poison, so I guess they are reanimated corpses? Does that make him really just a sack of burlap, a literal sackman? Dun dun dun. Or is he a hive mind of bugs acting as one entity? When he unravels and loses bug after bug, which freaked me out as a kid, but hey, major kudos to the animation team who spent so long on that scene. His voice breaks down, multiplies, and gets higher pitched until it seems that he is just the one itty-bitty boogie bug that gets squashed. So, are we to think that this little bug is so charismatic that all the other bugs just want to join up? But what about that bug from earlier that was super scared? I feel like it was very reluctant to join Oogie Boogie's body bugs. So what magic is binding and compelling the minds and bodies of these bugs together? My hunch is that it's the boogie bag. I think that this buggy oogie is nothing more than an enchanted bag or sack, and that this is hinted at in the intro to the movie, when the voice says,
I am the shadow of the moon at night, filling your dreams to the brim with fright.
Bats form from its shape and fly out from its mouth, and the shadow face dissolves to nothingness at the same time. This is eerily similar to what actually happens later in the movie. The bag rips and the bugs pour out, and Oogie Boogie dissolves to nothingness. Super foreshadowing of the shadow of the moon at night, or just a spooky cool transition? And that's some many-legged food for thought. It also sheds some light onto Oogie's seemingly chaotic desire to ingest Sandy Claus. He wants to use him to add a little spice to his snake and spider stew, after all. By adding Sandy Claus to his sentient sack body, he could become more powerful.
Wahahaha.
Which actually brings us to the Nightmare Before Christmas video games. Oogie Boogie was around and already ordering about Lock, Shock, and Barrel in the video game prequel, The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Pumpkin King, which came out after the movie but takes place the year before it. Here Oogie lives in the familiar treehouse and is decreed to dwell below it forevermore when, spoiler, Jack defeats him, foils Oogie's Crawloween dreams, and claims the familiar Pumpkin King title for himself. From this, we know that Oogie Boogie is bug-focused and already an anti-traditional boogeyman of sorts, as Lock, Shock, and Barrel are his employees. In the sequel video game, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge, which takes place the year after the movie, Lock, Shock, and Barrel are so bored that they revive Oogie Boogie. How they do this, I don't know, but it seems like an extremely important key to figuring out just what makes up Oogie Boogie. Did they retrieve the sack that ripped off? Ah, well, that's just something that we cannot grasp. Anyway, to make short of it, Oogie Boogie wants to become the 7 Holidays King and kidnaps all the holiday leaders. He is thwarted when he falls into a world of garbage and absorbs the waste and insects into himself, powering him up for battle. This confirms to me that Oogie Boogie is actually a magical sack that gains power from whatever it ingests. A literal sack man. A man made from an enchanted sack and whatever that sack contains. And to me, that's all really fascinating. Like, all this power. The overpowered power to absorb what he eats, beyond nutritional content, of course. The power to keep ingested creatures alive or reanimate them in his sack body. The confusing Luigi's Mansion Poltergust wind tunnel breath power. And especially the power to keep people quaking in fear without leaving his treehouse basement. All add up to make Oogie Boogie one of the most interesting characters in The Nightmare Before Christmas to me. Also, the bugs. All those bugs made a lasting impression for decades. But this is now the end of our Oogie Boogie song. What are some of your thoughts? What are some of the boogeyman stories you grew up hearing about? Go ahead and fill our dreams to the brim with fright and tell all about them in the comments below. I had no plans to sleep like ever again. But if you need sleep, might I suggest checking out my second channel a bit late. Ooh, spooky. Where I read 2 stories per week. Stories like fairy tales, ghost stories, video game lore. I recently uploaded the story that inspired Coraline, the New Mother. and I'm currently reading through all of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, you know, the Headless Horseman and Ichabod Crane story, for spooky season. I hope to see you there, friends, fiends, and night owl supremes. Thank you for tuning into this creepy bug-tastic dive into Oogie Boogie's origin and chaotic powers. Don't forget to subscribe and say hello when you do, so you won't miss the next video. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.